Okay. Hopefully everyone can see
So,
where I am.
I'm
Right up
confused
there,
about our
right corner of this.
scheduling for
Again?
this week.
I'm sorry?
Oh, I'm confused about our meeting this week. I thought we'd be at the
At Yeshiva.
school and at 9:30. Now it's what's happening.
Okay. Okay, we're still figuring out those details, Mr. Hashem. Saying those are details we're still going to finalize with the security. They want everyone to have their own tags going in. But we'll have to finalize all those things. I think when Rabbi Rosenfeld comes back to town, Mr. Hashem will finalize some of that.
Okay. I walked in today without any new security.
Oh, yeah? No.
I'm not sure that's a
No,
problem.
Mrs. Lee
All right.
has to be,
Anyway, whatever it
Sean
is.
Baroka said that everyone should have tags. Okay. Fine. Okay. We are starting a new Mesechta, Rosh Hashana, a new tractate. And it's quite fitting that we're doing this right before Rosh Hashana. We're in the middle of the month of Elul, and the Mesechta Rosh Hashana has several different aspects to it, several different parts. In the beginning, although the name could sort of be a misnomer, could be a little bit confusing, because although it says that it's Rosh Hashana, the topics in the Mesechta will be dealing with many other things, not only Rosh Hashanah. It's going to be dealing with all the 4 different Rosh Hashanahs that we have on the calendar, as we're going to go through one by one. And later on, we're going to turn our attention to the Jewish calendar, how the Jewish calendar is set up, how it's different than the solar calendar, and how it's different than the lunar calendar, right? The society outside goes according to the solar calendar, to the sun, because that's how the seasons are determined. Let's say the Muslims go according to the lunar calendar, and by them their holidays are always in a different time of year, and we go according to both. And we're going to get into the further discussion how the Jewish months were determined, and with that we're going to go into the theme of testimony, witnesses, true witnesses, false witnesses, conspiracy theories, conspiracists who tried manipulating the Jewish calendar, and from there we're going to come into how Rosh Chodesh is determined, who determines Rosh Chodesh, when do you determine a leap year. We're going to go into the topic of the dateline. The only place it's really, you could say, discussed in Gemara is going to be later on in this Mesechta. There's a Ran, which is later on, which you could say is the only real place in entire Shas, entire Gemara, which discusses the idea of the dateline on Daf Chaf, namely how Eretz Yisrael, the Holy Land, is the center of the world, and latitude, the north to south laterals, so longitude, are determined with Eretz Yisrael, with Israel based in the center. How does that work practically with the world as we know it today? Because in that case, you're going to have a dateline going right through different land masses, countries, and we're going to go into that and contemporary halacha things. And from there, that's in short the idea. That's pretty much the content that we'll go through in the Mesechta. We're also going to go in the last chapter, go into actual Rosh Hashanah mode, meaning the laws of blowing the shofar. When do you blow the shofar? How do you blow the shofar? What type of sound of the shofar you have to hear? So we're only going to really get to the topic of Rosh Hashanah, and no, it does not mention anywhere in the Gemara anything about apples and honey, and all the other things we do on Rosh Hashanah. That's all customs which started much later. We're only going to really discuss all the ideas of Rosh Hashanah, all the halachas and the mitzvah of Rosh Hashanah, only in the last chapter of Mesechta Rosh Hashanah. The Mishnayos is actually one of the shortest Mesechtas. I think it's 34 Mishnahs, if I'm correct. 35 Mishnahs, the entire Mesechta. Mesechta Megillah, by contrast, was, I think, even longer. Actually, it was about the same, 33 chapters. Mesechta Tainus was 34, so it's one of these shorter tractates of Mishnayos. So without further ado, let's go into the actual Mishnah, Daf Beis Amud Aleph 2a. We are familiar with one Rosh Hashanah, which is Rosh Hashanah, when we dip the apple in the honey, we all have a sweet new year. Although in truth, there is more than one Rosh Hashanah, as the Mishnah is going to go right off the bat. Jewish years, Shalom Aleichem Reb Label, thank you for coming, thank you for joining, hope you had a good vacation, and all your travels, wherever they are, will be Batzlacha. And now we got to see one of your grandchildren here in Yeshiva, in the Zal, Chaim Hershel with his son. He looks just like Eli. He reminds me just of Eli, around his age.
Yep.
So the Mishnah starts off, Arba Rosh Hashanim Heim. There are 4 Rosh Hashanahs. They are Be'echa B'Nisan, the first of Nisan, Rosh Hashanah L'Malachim. It's Rosh Hashanah for kings. V'la Regalim, and for festivals. The Rosh Hashanah for a king is whenever a new king is appointed. It was customary on every legal document, you would say, this legal document would have a date to this is the whatever year of the creation of the world, let's say the year 5782, and then it would also say this is the 2nd or 3rd year of the reign of King Chizkiyahu or King Yehoyash, as a sign of honor, and later on as a sign of fear, and also in order to be peaceful relations with the king. This was not only Jewish kings, it's actually also non-Jewish kings as well. And the year did not go according to the date they were coronated as a kings. For example, let's say they were coronated as a king in middle of Hanukkah. The year would not go from Hanukkah to Hanukkah. Rather, every Rosh Chodesh Elul, Rosh Chodesh Nisan was considered to be the new year of the king. So even if a king became a king in the middle of Adar, on Purim, on the 15th of Adar, and when it comes, that's considered to be the 1st year of his monarchy, and then later on, Nisan would already be the 2nd year of his monarchy. There's discussions if we're talking about a Jewish king or a non-Jewish king. Rashi says unequivocally is talking about a non-Jewish king. Other places it says it's a Jewish king. But at any rate, it was there in order to make peaceful relations with the king. If you go today, Shalom Aleichem Dovi, and you have also Veyadaata Moskva.
Hello.
Yeah. If you go to the Chabad house in Dubai, they have a picture of the Rebbe like every Chabad house hanging, but that's inside. If you go into the entrance of the Chabad house in Dubai, in the United Arab Emirates, you're going to see a big, huge picture of the king. I think it's King Abdullah. 4 pictures on every side of the different members of the royal family. And you have to give honor to the king. And every single sefer that was printed in Russia, Poland, Ukraine, always had on the title page the name of the king. May the Tsar, God blessed be he, Yoram Hoydai, may he be exalted. L'regalim, and for Yom Tiv. The Gemara is going to explain what this means. What it does mean is that if someone, we're going to have a discussion, if someone promised to bring a carbon to the Beis HaMikdash, so then they have to bring it by the end of 3 Yom Tovim, 3 holidays that pass by. Do you count 3 holidays, or do you count differently, but rather you count 3 holidays starting from Rosh Chodesh Nisan? So that's what it means. Rosh Hashana L'der Galim. Rosh Hashana for the Yom Tovim. It also has to do with someone is, we're going to see Makdish, Mayrich, you do Kachim. There's a halacha bal ta'acher. If you promise something to the Beis HaMikdash, you have to meet your obligation within 12 months. Otherwise, you transgress a law, a prohibition of the Torah. So we count starting from Rosh Chodesh Nisan. If you made your vow, your donation, your pledge after Rosh Chodesh Nisan, you have until the next. You have Rosh Chodesh Nisan until almost 2 years to do it. Otherwise, you have less time. Be'echad be'elul, on the Rosh Chodesh Elul, 6 days ago, is Rosh Hashana leMaiser behema. It's Rosh Hashana for giving a tenth, a tithe of Maiser behema, the tenth of all your animals. During the times of the Beis HaMikdash, anyone who owned any type of animals, of domestic livestock, not cows, but sheep and goats, they would have to give 1 out of every single 10 to bring as a carbon, as a sacrifice in the Beis HaMikdash, called Maiser Behema. A tenth of every single animal. An animal tithe. And the way they would do it is they would gather all the animals into a very large pen, a barn, herd them in all together, and make a small opening that only one animal can go through at a time. The owner counts the animals as they go out, and he has a rod, a stick with sikra, red ink on it, red dye, and as the 10th animal goes out, he would give it he would tap it on the back, leaving red dye on it, saying, "This is Maiser." The animals were brought as a carbon in the Beis HaMikdash, and the meat had to be eaten in Yerushalayim within a certain amount of time. Now, the halacha is that you only allowed to give Maiser Behema, a tenth, only on animals of that calendar year. All have to have been born in the same year. Same thing is going to be, we're going to see later on, when it comes to Maiser Tvua, giving a tenth, you give to the Levi, when you give it, or Maiser Ani, the tenth that you have to give, you can only give from that year's crops. You cannot give, each year has to be given separately. So let's say I had 9 sheep born before the cutoff date, which is the Rosh Hashana, 9 sheep born after Rosh Hashana, I have 18 sheep, I do not have to give Maiser Behema. The cutoff date, you can only, animals which are born, the Maiser is only taken off, is only given of animals which were born in the same calendar year. This applies, when does it start? Be'echad be'elul, on the first of Elul, is the Rosh Hashana for the Maiser Behema, the animal tithe, giving 1/10 of all your sheep as a carbon to the Beis HaMikdash. Any animals born before Rosh Chodesh Elul are separated separately, belong to the previous year, and are a single unit, and everything born the year after, from after Rosh Chodesh Elul, is already from the next year. So you got to make sure any animals that give birth have to be separated from that date. There's a nice humorous vart on this saying, which says, on the first of Elul is Rosh Hashana for Maiser Behema. Everyone comes after a whole summer, it just had a nice break, and during the break, everyone acted like an animal, meaning you ate, you drank, you enjoyed yourself. You didn't, maybe a person didn't conduct themselves as the most greatest of Torah leaders. And then suddenly comes Rosh Chodesh Elul, realize Rosh Hashana is coming. So Echa Be'el Rosh Hashana. You realize on Rosh Chodesh Elul, hey, we got to do Teshuvah. We're going to come to Hashem and Rosh Hashana. How are we going to look like? Then he realizes a behema. He's coming to Hashem with acting like a behema, like an animal. So then he becomes very careful lemaiser, to give meiser, to give tzedakah. Suddenly in the month of Elul, he has to be careful to give meiser in order to make up for everything they acted as a behema, to make up for being like a behema before that. It's a humorous word on this idea of echad be'elul. Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Shimon oimrim be'echad be'tishrei. Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Shimon, we're going to discuss this more at length in the Gemara, they say that Meiser Behema, the cutoff date for an animal to decide to determine whether the animal will be part of the previous year's Meiser or the coming year's Meiser, that is on Rosh Hashana, the first of Tishrei. And we're going to have the reasons why in the Gemara, how you compare animals to people. We're all judged together in Rosh Hashana, and which idea is more important. The idea of the entire world is being judged, as we say during the Tfilis of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. It says, every single inhabitant of the world on Rosh Hashanah passes in front of Hashem like sheep passing, like a flock passing in front of their shepherd. So therefore the animals and the people are even when it comes to Rosh Hashanah, and therefore their cutoff date to determine which year of Meiser they belong to is on Rosh Hashanah. And the opinion which holds on the first of Elul is because this is when you start to gather all your sheep from the outside, and you start to gather it in and bring it to the Beis HaMikdash. And this is also the time when the animal feed, all the grassy fields and all the meadows are starting to to dry out. They're starting to come up. It's the end of the season, and it's a time when many sheep give birth, because many of them become pregnant in the summer when there's a lot of food and they're healthy. And the Pesach time, and then they give birth very often in Elul time. So therefore, the Rosh Hashanah is in Elul. Mecha B'Tishrei. Now, this is the most famous Rosh Hashanah, where you dip the apple in the honey and have a happy, sweet new year. And we blow the shofar. And Mecha B'Tishrei is Rosh Hashanah Lashanim. It is Rosh Hashanah for years. This is how we reckon the years from creation. It's not, Rosh Hashanah is not the first day of creation, but it's a day of the creation of Adam Arishan, of Adam, the first person, the first man, the purpose of creation, and and this is the famous Rosh Hashanah. V'la Shmitin v'la Yovelis. Shmita and Yovel. Shmita is the 7th year, the sabbatical year, when one is not allowed to plant their fields, grow anything in their fields. That is on the 1st of Tishrei. Yovel is an extra year of Shemitah where you cannot plant or grow your fields. And there's many halachas which take place. You have to, you have the great return. All indentured servants who are Jewish go free in the year of Yovel. Anyone who bought a property during the time of the first Beis HaMikdash, it would return to their owner, the original owner, in the year of Yovel. And they would blow the shofar on Yom Kippur in the year of Yovel in order to announce this is the time that everybody has to start keeping the year of Yovel. So Shemitah and Yovel all starts on the first of Tishrei. V'lenetia v'liyarakas. As well, the other laws of Shemitah that you can't plant. The laws of Arla. Arla is in Eretz Yisrael. It's from the Torah. Outside of Eretz Yisrael nowadays is the Rabbanon. Arla is if you have a tree that is growing. The first 3 years you cannot eat any of the produce of the tree. The 4th year could be eaten only in Yerushalayim, and from the 5th year onwards, one could benefit from the fruit growing on the tree. If it's a non-Jewish field owned outside of Eretz Yisrael, you definitely don't have to worry about it. That's why, unless something is bought from Eretz Yisrael, from Israel, which the majority are Jewish owned fields, you don't have to worry about it. And most fruits that we have, apples, oranges, they are usually only picked from trees that are more than 3 years old. And you don't have to worry about netar vai, but you count a year. If a tree was planted in the month of Elul, that's counted as a first year, and already beginning Rosh Hashana is counted as a second year. Liyarakas, Yirakas has the same din, the same law as Meiser. You have to give 1/10 of all your vegetables to the poor, Meiser Ani, and Meiser Rishon to the Levi, all the produce. Now you have to separate Meiser 1/10 from everything separately. Nowadays, Meiser is easy. The Meiser we do today is very different than the Meiser which was in the times of the Beis HaMikdash. People give Meiser 1/10 of their earnings. They give 1/10 of all their earnings of money, of cash. But from the Torah, there's no limit, set amount you're supposed to give of your money. Rather, it's from your produce that you grow. We give Meiser, it's become more of an almost accepted universal custom to give Meiser 1/10. And many people give more than Meiser, more than 1/10. But from the Torah, Meiser applies to produce, not to money. We do see that Avraham Avinu gave Meiser 1/10 on everything he owned. As it says, he met Melchizedek, the king of Yerushalayim, of Shalem, and he gave him a Meiser 1/10 of everything he owned, not just of his fruit and produce, it means of his gold and his silver and his possessions, 1/10 of everything. We see that Esav wanted to be pious, wanted to at least fool his father to show how pious he is. And you would ask his father how you give Meiser from salt, from hay, and straw, how you give 1/10. But these are all lifnim mishuras adin. These are not biblical obligations. And the Meiser we give today is the biblical obligation of tzedakah. But Hashem says, please test me out. You give 1/10 in order aser b'shvil shetis asher, in order to become wealthy. Echad b'shvat and Rosh Chodesh Shvat is Rosh Hashana li'ilan, is the Kidivri Beishamai. This is the Rosh Hashana of the trees, as Beis Shammai says. This is not in regards to the laws of Arla, of a tree needing to be 4 years old to eat the fruit, but rather regarding, just like in grain and vegetables, you have to give Meiser on every year's produce separately, designate Meiser separately, not from 1 year on the other year. Same thing applies to a tree. And the cutoff designation point is, according to Beis Shammai, it's on Rosh Chodesh Shvat. Fruits are classified from when they begin to bud, when they begin to grow. Vegetables and grain, the Meiser is determined from when it's finished when it's full stock. But the fruits are determined from when they start to grow. When the flower falls off, it's called chanita saperi. And it determines which meiser, so meiser rishon, meiser sheni, meiser ani, all the meiseros, the tenths that you have to give to the poor or to eat in Yerushalayim, as depending on the year, as we'll have graphs later on to describe. That starts, according to Beit Shammai, on Rosh Chodesh Shvat. Beis Hillel says that Rosh Hashana for trees is Chamisha Asar B'Shvat. Tu B'Shvat Igia, Chag Ilanot. Tu B'Shvat, the 15th of Shvat, is the new year for the trees. And as Rabbi Tzvi taught us as Mishnah in 6th grade, it depends when the sap is in the trunk of the tree on Rosh Chodesh Shvat. On the 15th of Shvat, it's already starting to bud. The fruits are starting to bud. And as the Rebbe brings the general outlook of Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel throughout the entire Shas, throughout the entire Mishnah, Beis Hillel always looks at the actual, the bottom line, what was done. Beis Shammai looks at the potential. Hence, Beis Shammai says you start off lighting menorah the first night with 8 candles, second with 7, third night 6. How many more days of the miracle still were going to take place? Beis Hillel says the first day start with 1, the second day 2, third day 3. How many days of miracles actually happened? So do you look at when the sap starts to come into the tree, or when it actually starts to bud? When you could see the flowers fall off and things are starting to grow a little bit. And I remember the example Rabbi Ruddle gave on this was, he said there was someone who got into a big car accident and they were in the hospital, and they were in a coma for a long time, and the doctor, the families every day by the bed of their loved one, and the doctor is coming in every single day to make checkups and make the rounds. And one night the doctor walks in and he looks at the graph and he starts dancing and he says, "Oh, everything's good." And the family turns around and says, "What's happening? Why are you so happy suddenly? It's not a very happy situation." He says, "Can't you see on that graph over there, that chart, that dot is moving over there and that line is moving like this? He's getting better. He's going to be good." And they told him, "We don't see what you're talking about. We don't understand the thing you're saying." And the family, dismissed everything the doctor said. Maybe they were upset that, he's trying to make fun of them. But the next morning, the patient wakes up and begins to talk. And at that point, the family was happy and they started dancing and they were celebrating. Right? So at which point do you look at the Rosh Hashanah for the trees? You look at the point from when it's going to happen, or you could see it's going to happen, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, or do you go from the point where you actually get to the light at the end of the tunnel? We Hasidim, maybe I'll ask this to Dovi. What's a 5th Rosh Hashanah that we have?
A 5th Rosh Hashanah.
We have a 5th Rosh Hashanah.
Melachim, Rosh Hashanah here. Tu B'Shvat is for trees, right? Okay. 5th Rosh Hashanah. Is it like a spiritual Rosh Hashanah? Like there's a halachic Rosh Hashanah. That's the 5th, you say?
No, it's a Chabad Rosh Hashanah.
A Chabad Rosh Hashanah. Oh, then I know. It was when the Alter Rebbe was freed.
Oh yeah, what day is that?
An Elul, right? Chaf Hey, I think.
Almost.
I'm pretty good here, aren't I?
You're very
Chaf
good.
Tes? Is it Chaf Tes? Chaf Zayin? Chaf Beis?
Yud Tes Kislev.
Okay, Yud Tes Kislev.
It's called the Rosh Hashanah of Chassidus. Do you recognize any of these two people?
Oh, that they received.
Let me reshare it. I'm sorry. I saw it stop being shared. Now you recognize these two people?
Well, oh yeah. One of them is Rabbi Grzinski or
Chaim
something. One of the big,
right? And
uh,
that's
uh,
Shimon Shkop on the left.
I see. And Rabbi Grzinski was one of the big post scheme. Yeah.
Right, of course. He was a very very big posek. He was in he was a Rav in Vilna, a posek in Vilna. Right during World War One, people used to ask him two questions at one time, and he would answer both at the same time. That's a Shimon Shkop, the Rosh Yeshiva in Grodno. I mean, the Rebbe, of course, met and had connections with both of them. Right, this is a famous picture of Chaim. He actually passed away about 3 weeks after the Nazis, or 4 weeks after the Nazis took over Vilna, invaded Vilna.
Mm.
So, in the beginning of Kunter Sumayin, which we learned about 3 years ago, it's already 3 years ago. Wow, about a couple years ago, maybe 2 years ago. The first half of Kunter Sumayin is very, very interesting. And second half is Mamarim that we learned. The first half is from the diary of the Frierdiker Rebbe of the years from that time period of when the Rebbe Rashab published Kunter Sumayin. It gives you a background of what was happening throughout that entire time period. And this is in the year 1902 or 1901. Tavish Samach Beis. The Rebbe Rashab, for health reasons, had to be outside. With health reasons, or perhaps other reasons, maybe there was public advocacy that was going on. He cannot be in Lubavitch for Yutas Kislev. This was the second year that all the Bachrim of the Yeshiva were in the city of Lubavitch, and they were devastated. The Rebbe Rashab would not be in Lubavitch for Yutas Kislev. And then the Rebbe Rashab sent a letter, which the actual copy of a letter is printed in the introduction of Kunter Sumayin, which states in that, and this letter is printed at the beginning of the Hayom Yom. It's a Hayom Yom of Yutas Kislev as well. That Yutas Kislev is, the 19th of Kislev is a Rosh Hashana of Chassidus, the beginning of the year for Chassidus. And a Rosh, a beginning, doesn't only mean the first. A Rosh is like the head of a body. On your body, your head, your brain, controls and every single part of the body, and every part of the body receives its instructions and orders directly from the head. It's included in it, and it receives its life force from the head. It receives its air, its oxygen through the head, through the brain. And Rosh Hashanah is the head of the year in that terms. The entire year is included in Rosh Hashanah. Everything we do in that year, everything we do in Rosh Hashanah affects the entire year. So too Yutas Kislev. Any hachlata we take in adding on Chassidus throughout the month of Kislev, on Yutas Kislev, there's no, will definitely be able to be much more effective and could affect the entire year in a positive way. And this is the letter of the Rebbe Rashab and the description of the excitement this letter made in so many places, including in Lubavitch where the Rebbe Rashab was not there. It became a tremendous Yom Tov, a happy time. There were no copy machines available then in Russia, and they had to have hand copies. They were copied and sent out to many places, and every place Chassidim got this new thing. There was a tremendous simcha, tremendous joy that now the Rebbe Rashab is calling Yutas Kislev the Rosh Hashanah of Chassidus. And the Chassidim in Vilna, when they received this letter, the Rebbe Rashab, they were tremendously happy. And I don't remember what day they received it. I'm going to just mine here somewhere. But they had such a simcha that they gathered everyone together, made a second Yutas Kislev, I think it was the middle of Hanukkah, made a second Yom Tov where it was after Hanukkah and nobody said Tachnun that day. I don't remember exactly what day it was. And there's tremendous, tremendous joy among the Chassidim. And of course, everyone saw, what's this great celebration? And They showed them the letter of the Rebbe Rashab. So there was a certain rabbi in the city of Vilna who came to Reb Chaim Ozer Grodzinski, Reb Chaim Ozer, and he told him in a sort of mocking way, he says, look, the Mishnah Mesechta Rosh Hashana says, Arba Rosh Hashanim Haim, there are 4 Rosh Hashanas. And now the Chassidim went ahead and they made themselves a 5th Rosh Hashanah. So this particular Rav, he was very lenient, very makel, very lenient in everything, in his Piskei Din, in his rulings and halacha. So Rabbi Chaim Ozer told him back, Bei zei kommt zu, und bei uns kommt an. Meaning by they, by Chassidim, they're adding on, extra, more. And by you, it's detracting, less. Meaning you're being always makel, and Chaim Ozer would point it out to him from time to time, as much as he, as he was able to. And it says, by you, it's missing, it's detracting, going less. And by them, they're adding on, adding more. So it's definitely B'Simcha and Rosh Hashanah. We're going to continue now, Mirza Hashem, with Maimer of Veyadaata, Moskva. I'm going to put this up on the screen and put this over here. And Dovi, I met you today and gave you an actual sefer so you can follow along.
Yes, indeed.
For those, I'm sure everyone has a good memory. And even if you don't have a good memory, it's probably similar to something you remember from somewhere else. Page 184. We say, Hine Keli Shuasi Eftach V'le Efchad. Behold, Hashem is with me, I have no fear. When one realizes that the world is only a superficial level, which is concealment of Hashem, it's a surface level, but if you realize that it's really everything, Havayahu Elikim, all the concealment, even the greatest concealments, are actually a revelation of a godliness, and you just have to look a little bit beyond the surface, and therefore it's not. There's no need to push off missing davening with a minyan, missing the time of learning Torah. I'm going to lose my profit. On the contrary, you're going to gain your profit. I won't give tzedakah because I need it for myself. You'll have even more. You're not going to try being dishonest because you know that you're going to be successful. What are the words? Al pi pashut. Zeu dafka kisha'amad b'nisayon. Sorry. This is specifically when somebody was able to stand. Al pi pashatu. Here we are. And over here, let's get the right spot over here. A little bit longer. Okay. זה עצמו שרויה בעיניו, שגם שמסנג על פי תורה המצווה, ועוסק בתורה והעבודה, שאין זה על פי חיצוניוס.
Excuse me, you're still on Rosh Hashana on the screen.
Really? Interesting. I'm sorry. Let me fix this up then. I thought I was even scrolling. Let's see. Is now better?
Yep, thank you.
Okay, shkoyach. Ashab emes meir lo yumargish b'nafshe gilir elyon yoser. B'chol hashba'aseh v'kabalas chayuso yum gili or eliki shlemayla me'or min sumsa managas ha'olam. A person confronts any challenges that they receive, and this enables them to go look past the superficial layer of the world and realize how when he does Torah, when he does mitzvahs, learns Torah, everything he receives is coming from godly light. And he realizes all the time everything you receive comes from Hashem giving it to him and bringing down his infinite light into the person. And the more a person focuses themselves on this, in direct proportion to the extent of how much they serve Hashem, with that exact proportion is how much they will ascend, become elevated in their service of Hashem. The miracle you'll experience really depends on you. Depends how much somebody is calm, trust in Hashem. If a person is completely serene, they'll receive a full miracle. Partially serene, they'll bring a partial miracle. So Avram Avinu isn't merely a person who, an example of someone who withstood a test, but he's a reminder of the present as well. That he refused to allow anything he saw, any obstacles, the projections of science, you're never going to have children, everyone told him, all the experts told him, a river which was stopping him from going to bring a carbon on Har Maria, nothing stopped him. He believed in Hashem in 1,000%. He was able to overcome any, even impossible odds. So when we behave like Avraham, we in turn will experience the same type of miracles like Avraham Avinu. V'zehu inyan nisyanis. This is the reason why Hashem gives us the challenges. Ki minasa Hashem lekechem eschem tachas hagavana. The purpose of challenges is lavi lebechinas giler and sof shelamayla me'atava. Hashem is giving us an opportunity to reveal or in sof the infinite light which transcends nature. Just like the challenge which confronted Avraham Avinu. And similarly, in every challenge which confronts a Jew at any time, we are given the ability to win over it and ability to reveal godliness in a much greater way than before. What comes out from all of this, from the above, this maybe a little. This is what our job is. We have a job description is liyached havaya v'elikim, to reveal the unity which is in the two names of Hashem, the name of havaya, revelation, and elikim, of concealment. Sheyeda nemana, a person should know the reality. That the name of Elikim, the name creation, and everything in the world does not conceal the greatness of Hashem. Hashem's name of Elikim, concealment, is part of one of his 7 names, and it's just the name of Hashem, like the name of Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, the name of revelation. A person cannot cover themselves. Every creation comes from the name of Havaya. Now, if I want to hide myself, Even if I go like this, you still see me. You might not see my face, but you still see me. You can't hide yourself. Like this calendar, now I can hide myself. It's not part of me. Right? We're putting your hand on your head. Your hand is not considered to be, let's say, a yarmulke covering because it's your own hand. Someone else's hand is considered to be a covering. It's a mindset shift which causes the shift from elikim, from concealment to havaya. Hashem makes the nature so repetitive and so predictable that somehow thinks that it operates by itself. When you recalibrate and reorient yourself to havaya, you realize that the world is not so scary because it's something that's being constantly recreated, rejuvenated every moment. The vayu mahava kol nevayim. The name of Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, Havaya, is a dynamic source which brings into being all creations. Kollel Vushim, Ma'alames, Hashem Elikim, Yinam Alibim, Mastirim Be'emes. And although the light of Hashem's name, of Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, is shining through the concealments, and the veils and the concealments of Hashem's name, of Elokim, the nature, it enables Hashem's light to reach places that by itself was not able to be. Whatever level a created being is, the light of Hashem, Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, is being brought down. Now, without the concealment of Hashem, the light of Hashem, the greatness of Hashem, never would have been able to come to such a place because it cannot have been existent without the name of Elikim. And therefore, one must always be aware of this concept that the main existence is the light of Havaya of Hashem, which is in everything. And connect yourself to that inner light. Don't look at the outside. This person, look what they did. Look, this is the godly light coming through this person. And is going to be explained further on as well. When a person achieves this, meaning clinging to Hashem, uniting with Hashem, when one confronts a challenge, he comes to a revelation of a higher level of godly revelation of godly light, the infinite light of Hashem, which transcends nature. So the world thinks that if you want to be successful, if you want to be happy, you got to be successful. You got to earn a lot of money. You got to have the best house, the best this, the biggest company, the biggest accomplishments. So if you're the world thinks if you're successful, you'll become happy, and we learned just the opposite. If you're happy, then you'll be successful. The reason why most people have it backwards is because people think they are in charge of their own destiny, their own fate. And therefore, if I will be successful, then I'll be happy. However, people which are aware and more conscious, they know that Hashem wants to give us a bracha, a blessing, and He just wants us to make the first move. So if you could be happy for 1 hour a day for the next week, then your joy in Hashem's blessings will become the catalyst for all the extraordinary brachas and blessings Hashem will give Mirz Hashem, each one of you. And just, I guess, get ready. Brace for impact for all the brachas, Mirz Hashem, that will come. Going to pause.